in this first one. I think they do have a very brute force style, like you're kind of alluding to, right? And they certainly can if things go well. But as I've mentioned, when they're behind, it's a hard time for them. And sometimes, you know, teams and the way that they play or decisions that they make that don't necessarily make sense to some of the complexity players, it gets in their heads. The likes of Gambit, for example. You know, I've seen that one develop over a number of months where they would take a map off of them in like May time when they were playing against each other, just the one in the series, you know. But then recently, Gambit have started to get the better of that matchup. So I think that mentally things are really not looking great for this complexity lineup at times. They do need to be careful that they don't let those negative thoughts come in.
Yeah, just to cut you right off, as we're already deep into the pistol round, JW 3v1 to open things up. Double kills for Config and Rush respectively, as JW should at least be able to get this bomb down here. Extra $800 for the T side, making that second round force a little more viable, because he's going to be flanked from both sides. JKS down the ramp, being shot at from behind. JW trying to take the early engagement, not quite connecting. However, finally, he will deal with JKS, but he's got to get a lot more where this came from. Yugi wanders into the crosshair, and all of a sudden, JW 1v1 Rush with the defuse kit, low HP on JW. He's going to stick it. Job done. First round on the board for Complexity. Just about. I tell you what, JW very nearly pulled that off.
Yeah, it would have been pretty incredible. A great start for Fnatic if he could have done, but unfortunately robbed of it. A nice play from Rush, of course. You know, you're banking on the fact that he doesn't have a kit, and that is somewhat risky. Get unlucky. But a solid bomb plant, nice few kills for JW. He's able to pick himself up an AK. They are going to go for the full buy here. 3 rifles coming into play. Of course, somewhat of a classic. I'm certainly a fan of this on train. I think that your T-side force buys with a decent amount of utility can really, really rush your way in towards that B bomb site. And at the very least, get a return plan. Whether they get the round or not is another question. But this could certainly work for them. A number of SMGs over on that complexity side means that things could get messy. You know, a missed shot here or there, it's hard to adjust.
Just sitting into this early A take. Good amount of firepower behind the force by Fnatic as they start to make their way out, but Rush again, top of the green train's going to get the opening. JW and Crims do well to trade. And a lot of damage in the process. So I think Complexity will fancy this retake. Huge amount of utility to work with as JKS actually managing to steal one straight back. Crims on the bomb train goes down, and Rush very quick with his shot. Leaves just Jaquinho and Golden, and you can see the long rotation for the youngster as well. Golden's going to have to buy a fair amount of time here. With the utility in Yugi's hands, that could be very difficult. This nade is going to be huge. Donkey backwards deals with Golden, and Jaquinho with only 32 HP, 1v3 to try and pull off, but it's not going to happen. Yugi shuts him down in swift fashion. In Complexity, second round, 3 rifles saved. Not a bad start at all for the CT side.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I was worried about that second round, in all honesty, that they might just get caught off by it, but not the case at all. I think against a buy like that from Fnatic, losing a couple players, not the end of the world, right? That bare minimum of 3 that we always talk about. So, solid start here for Complexity. On the CT side, I think Train remaining as one of the more CT-sided maps in the pool for sure. Although everything seems to be shifting a bit more even these days. Nonetheless, solid start. Get the economy rolling. That's exactly what you want. But a quick B hit coming in from Fnatic. A few pistols to speak of and a Mac 10 to lead the charge. He will go down. Brolin gets a quick trade, but Yugi here at the back end with that AK from the last round. Feeling confident. Able to retain the man advantage for Complexity. The bomb goes down. Certainly going to be happy with this on the Fnatic side. Any more for any more, though, is the next question. Config so very blind. Actually survives way longer, but Jaquinho, that is a key headshot. Might just have swayed the round in their favor. They know where these remaining 2 players are coming from. Jaquinho with another clean headshot onto Blame F this time, leaving Rush to clutch things up against 3. And I don't think he fancies his chances, Wolfie.
Economy just not there to make this viable. He'll look for the exits if he's given them, scoped in towards that bomb train. Might be able to deal with Jaquinho, and indeed he will, but he's going to be pressured by 2 as a result, and he'll find the second frag at the very least. Gun lost, however, And with no money at all for that CT side coming into the next, it's going to be very awkward for them. Looking realistically as at, well, hard eco's got to be your only possible option, right? Coming up against the full rifles, it should be a relatively clean round from Fnatic, start to level things out. And from there, maybe they can build themselves a semblance of a half. A nice round there for Jaquinho as well. Maybe just building up that confidence a little bit, as we said. It's going to be full default pistols. Just the Zeus for config. Interesting to see where he looks to take that. Looks like it's going to be straight into drop. He might get his chance as well. Crims ducking and diving with it, playing with the Zeus. Doesn't quite get caught, however. And now, yeah, config out in no man's land. All too easy to find that frag. And from here, it should just be about Fnatic mopping things up.
Yeah, I think so. Even with the Zeus, you know, it probably doesn't do an awful lot to the round, even if he finds that kill. Embarrassment, mind games, maybe. But in the overall context of winning, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. They're also avoiding the stack here, so pretty solid stuff. Crims holding connector, yeah, and I think they know that that's going to be the round. Nice and safe from Fnatic. They're not really sure the response from Complexity in terms of the weaponry and whatnot, so decent Molotovs, couple smokes, not using everything, but enough. And now Crims on the hunt, or just a passive position. It looks like he wants to take some fights. Does need to be careful. Easily overwhelmed in an angle like this, but taking it nice and smart. They are just the eco frags, but all the same, you know, holding the D key a little too long. He could have gotten taken down. Could have gotten taken down. Correct English, honestly. But either way, well played from him. And a well-played round from Fnatic.
Yeah, really solid across the board. Couldn't ask for, well, anything else, really. Just getting through it cleanly, keeping your rifles alive, and dealing with those pistols. As you said, using the required amount of utility, but nothing more. Not risking anything, but not spending too much money either. And here we go. First real buy of the half coming in for Complexity. Yugi on that AWP. There are sacrifices, and Golden quickly out of drop, almost able to find the punish. Rush does very well to bail config on that UMP out of the situation and actually find themselves a man up. It looked like Golden was going to get a gift of an entry there, but instead, it'll be Jaquinho trying to make his way out of main. A low HP config behind the E-box, the first port of call. As Fnatic, it looked like they wanted to set up for a fast A take, but they get slowed down a little bit by this aggression. Rush with another critical headshot. JW goes down, might even be able to salvage himself the AK-47 as this XX starts to come through.
Roll on. So very blind pushing forward. Config hears all of this. Well-timed peek to find one and bailed out by Yugi for the second. Oh my goodness. Fnatic are going to be so annoyed at this round. A lot of opportunities to pick up some early frags, some mid-round frags. They just seem to escape, just slipping through their fingers. A little unfortunate. And it means Crims will be the only one left. If he can take anyone down with him here, certainly not a bad result. The money's still very, very weak for Complexity, whereas it's perfectly fine for the T side. So certainly would be a fan of him getting aggressive, maybe pushing his way in, but instead he's opting to sit around and keep a hold of this M4 for now. Unsure whether they're looking to hunt him or not, but Complexity, yeah, really not taking any chances. They want to keep all these weapons up, and that's wise.
And it's a really solid start for Complexity. 3 rounds on the board, making the most of it, not getting too overwhelmed by that previous round going against them. The lead once again restored, and as you said, all 5 rifles building that CT economy. We talk about it pretty much constantly, how difficult it can be to keep that CT side economy going, how hard it can be to pull out the AWPs as frequently as you'd like, and especially on a map like Train, that is absolutely critical. So doing well to keep hold of all 5. 2 AK-47 saves to give the one-tap headshot potential as we head into round number 6. Fnatic, they've tried to slow round a few times. Looking like they might want to up the pace a little bit here as they start to take some early control of the brown halls and put that pressure onto Yugi, peeking in and dealt with by Crims. Beautiful headshot to open things up. And now Complexity in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, the first time in a short while, to be fair, that it feels like Fnatic have found themselves an early advantage. What do they do with it is the next question. Crims, oh, this is a great spot. So many players around the corner. He is about to meet the metal. of that Complexity side, though. A well-placed flashbang here could end his days. I think he's still sticking around down there. It may well have just gone up the ladder, I think. I believe so. So he gets out of there safely. Just in the nick of time. Complexity not able to find an answer back. JKS as well also getting tagged up. Certainly not ideal right now. Complexity are worse for wear. 45 seconds left. Fnatic with a solid advantage to work with. Rush's position could be everything if he plays his cards right, manages to find one. Looking for more. Great return flash, but Brolin is not blind. The trade is clean. And it retains the man advantage for Fnatic.
Buying time for them as well. 2 players over on this A bomb site as the bomb's still lurking in the brown halls. JKS going to be put under pressure to come up with the huge clutch rotation. Looking like it might just be timed perfectly for Config, but it's going to be all on JKS. The bomb does make its way across. He manages to find the first pick. He needs more from this as Config actually manages to take out the flank and give Complexity the man advantage for a first time in a long time. JW low HP will go down. And Chiquinho thrown into the 1v3. Can't win the initial spray down. JKS holding strong on that B bomb site and doing a fantastic job of pushing Fnatic back.
That is not a good sign at all, is it? Fnatic letting a 5-on-4, kind of a 5-on-3.5 with JKS being tagged up. They let it slip away. And that is going to be, a real kick in the teeth and a disappointment, of course. Complexity. Looking good, though. Certainly solid stuff. JKS, the man that I think a good number of question marks have been surrounding since his joining of this team. Plays that one very, very well. Bails them out of a difficult situation and gives Complexity a solid chance of building up a strong lead here. The money not good for Fnatic coming into this round. A few deagles, a little bit of armor dipped in, and the one flashbang of Golden, of course, who's bought Kevlar but remained with a Glock. Certainly interesting, but, you know, each to their own, I suppose. Meanwhile, we talked a lot about Fnatic's double up setup. We're seeing a bit of a double up setup for Complexity here. See what Rush has got.
Interesting put the one to Rush, and he misses his first shot as well. Trying to get that swing peek of JW out, but it doesn't matter. Blame F pushing through into A main. Gets a nice pick onto Golden. Starting to thin the numbers of these deagles. Starting to make them look a little less vicious. Prims will be able to recover for one at the very least. Blame F just overstaying his welcome in towards A main. And I think for Fnatic here, bomb plant would be fantastic. If they can just get that bomb out onto the site, extra $800 to work with into the next round, maybe they can make something of it. But for now, Prim's trying to get a boost over this top of the smoke is going to be given absolutely nothing. Complexity happy to sit back, wait for the fights to come to them. You can see Chiquinho going to start to prod and probe towards Ivy. Might catch a timing with Rush, low HP as well, but he deals with it. Times his peaks perfectly, and for the 2 remaining players, how much can you realistically get done? Yugi picking off one. JW at least will get that second frag. Might be able to isolate that AWP as well, but Yugi's going to deal with the last, and Config will go and grab that second AWP as well. So keeping the bare minimum of 3 rifles up, keeping both the AWPs on the server. The damage isn't bad for Fnatic.
Yeah, it's one of those rounds where any damage is good damage, as I like to say, right? Where they've bought up a little bit. If they can take some weapons away and just keep that CT economy constantly under wraps, right? Particularly the CT economy. It's pretty rough. I think it's not a bad result at all. But Fnatic starting to build up a bit of loss bonus now. However, they need to get some rounds on the board. T-side starting to slip away from them. Yugi, with an aggressive push in. Almost dropping Golden, but not quite. A great little shot, but wise from Golden to jump across, of course. JKS, meanwhile, spotting out the brunt of the Fnatic side. Takes the brunt of the damage. So a lot of tags coming in here so far. It's all going to be a question of who finds the first frag, or the first couple of frags, it would seem, at this point. Certainly needed. Big nade from JKS Golden. Lucky it was not closer to him. It does a bit more damage, but no one going down as yet. 1:05 thereabouts left on the clock. I would imagine this attack towards B will come soon. But it does seem Complexity are somewhat ready for it. Players ready to rotate across. One even ready to flank. So Fnatic certainly posturing here, but looking kind of nervous Kind of scared. What's the game plan? They're going to send one man in to begin with. I like this. Crim's going by himself, and then he's joined by the cavalry as he gains ground, and maybe he's been given a bit too much ground. Down goes JKS. Blame F on the backside, able to rotate in and find a couple, though, and his position is absolutely deadly. Could snatch this round away.
Golden low on HP on this bomb site as well. Bomb Flash kind of gives the game away, but with Rush picking off Jaquinho, there's really very little Golden to do. Trying to play around the bomb train, but it's not going to happen. JW taken out by Blame, and Rush pushing up will find the last. Complexity, I tell you what, looking pretty hot on train thus far. 6th round, double AWPs looking like they definitely work out for them. Rush putting up some good numbers early. I think Fnatic, their T side, starting to look a little wobbly. And yeah, first timeout coming out from the Ts. Definitely need to start looking at the system and trying to, as you said, take a little bit of that finance away from the CT side, because it's looking pretty solid though so far.
Yeah, we mentioned it a little bit, didn't we? That perhaps they have left this one open on purpose. The classic falling into my trap bait. But time will tell. I've always liked the CT side from Complexity. It's relatively strong, and they have those good individuals who are hard to break through. So we'll see how long this lasts. But at the moment, yeah, it's certainly looking good, right? They're coming back from situations where it seems like they're kind of down and out. Winning up a 5-on-4 situation, decent for sure. Certainly not one of those insurmountable positions, right? You do see it happen fairly often, but all the same, they're looking solid on a map that we didn't really expect them to look solid. For me, though, it is usually the T sides of Train that teams fall apart on. So, you know, those weaker teams at the very least that don't have a decent Train in their back pocket. So we'll see. We'll see. Time certainly, as always, tells all. But at the moment, looking good. And I think we're impressed. Solid against the anti-ecos like this one. Not losing too many players at all. Their double up setup seems to be running well. In all fairness, I'm excited to see whether this continues.
Yeah, again, just thinning the numbers early on with the AWPs. Couple of nice picks from Yugi and Rush, respectively. Rush going to go pick up a third through the smoke. Blame, well, he's just picking off the scraps at this point, realistically. Crim's last man on it. A 1v5 to contend with. Again, it was meant to be damage, right? These were Deagles. Couple of picks, maybe a third, take one of those AWPs away, put the financial pressure back on Complexity. Instead, he finds himself alone, all his teammates gone, and only 17 HP of damage done to Rush as well. So really solid start from the CT side, building things up nicely, and just going to deal with Crim's last man. Yugi manages to take him out, looking pretty good on his AWP as well, which is nice to see. Obviously, the stand-in starting to find his form, and at a 5-round lead, I think Complexity, with 1 or 2 more wins against the full rifle buys of Fnatic, are going to be putting up a really impressive first half.
It has the foundations of one, right? But Fnatic still have time to turn things around. Oh, rough kind of buy here for Crim, so I think sacrifice the cross so that JW can get himself an AWP. Certainly not completely foreign on the T side of Train, of course. Nothing found for it as yet, but Brolin getting aggressive. They don't expect it. He's able to take down 1 and a second. The lightning peak onto Blame F. See you later. Rush, though, responds in kind. Love that from him. Getting a bit aggressive, and the double AWPs actually, once again, really doing work. Pretty much on top of each other towards Ivy. You know, one watching the A main side of things, and the other actually pushing in towards Ivy. So, unexpected position for sure for the Fnatic players, and once again a 5-on-3. It's fallen back to an even situation. JKS, oh, this off angle could be deadly.
He needs to get multiple kills though. Double AWP retakes, never a fun situation to be in. He smells a rat. He thinks they're coming down the ramp, but he's fallen off with the worst possible timing. Found, caught up the ladder. Crims will make the transfer. They're trying to get the bomb across as well, and Golden will get the better of JKS. Rush does well to trade for 1, but he doesn't expect a close man. And now, Yugi, what have you got for us? 1v2 as Brolin does punch those numbers in. Sneaks his way out of connector. Crims doesn't look like he's expecting the player to come from his right-hand side, but Yugi misses the shot. And Fnatic will have their 3rd round on the board. A little bit of a let-off there, if you ask me. As you said, 5-on-3 goes 3-on-3 in quick succession. If JKS doesn't get so awfully timed on there, it could be a completely different story.
Yeah, a bit of timing at the end for Yugi as well. The player who I believe was just running in towards ramp comes out at the right time just before he's about to creep up on Crims, who's not watching for him at all. So, yeah, little unfortunate. I think as well, Fnatic getting away with absolute murder, like you say, into the 3-on-3, right? That's immediately obvious, but the movement of the bomb across from B ramp towards default, just absolutely wacky. Crims, though, is not giving me any time to talk about it, because he's just rushing straight into B. They're changing things up here. They've won their first round. You expect them to chill and breathe that sigh of relief, but no. First frag comes in, B control secured like that, and I think the round comes with it, because the rest of Complexity looking to save. So Fnatic, with a speedier one, find a lot of success. Just the one kill needed.
Yeah, Crims just flying out of upper, catches JKS completely off guard, right? HE in hand, nothing he can really do in that situation. It's a nice timing. Fnatic, they've been feeling out that B-bomb site for a few rounds now, starting to see if they can work their way through it, and they've worked out that JKS is solo playing it. They isolate that one man. If JKS gets the frag there, you probably see Fnatic fall back into things a little bit more, try and full exec rather than just sending it. But by taking out the lone man with no nearby rotation, it's a guaranteed bomb site, guaranteed round, and you can see Complexity, even after such a strong start, starting to consider their economy. Throwing a 4v5 retake onto that B-bomb site with double AWPs is never going to work. It's never going to look good either, so just save those, get into your next round, try and counter that fast play coming into this one. Don't allow Fnatic to get too much of a footing, because clean rounds like that make it very easy for T-Sides to start building momentum.
Yeah, Complexity need an answer back soon, I think. Looking a little scary, to say the least. But we'll see. We'll see. Still able to obviously have a super strong buy coming into this one with the decision made in the last round to not just throw themselves at it, which I think is smart. Even despite, you know, the rounds that they've actually pulled back, they decide to go for the save. So I really do respect that decision making, in all honesty. But it just kind of depends on whether it pays off or not. Great flash. Oh, in towards A main. Brolin, I think he could have stolen away with two. JW as well, playing things very, very safe, not going for the swing to trade. Might just cost them. Thankfully, Blame F is able to readjust and finds a big double in Pop Dog. That's going to make all the difference. 4-on-2. Simple stuff from Blame F, but certainly done enough to secure the 8th. Surely at this point.
Big individual play stepping up. We spoke about it, and Blame's actually going to get himself the quad as well. Rush with the final frag just to clean the picture, but Complexity really all on Blame there. Huge round from him. Big spray down to make it happen, and Complexity start to regain that lead, start to build themselves back into things. It's not going to get any easier. Fnatic, couple of rounds on the board. T-side economy as it is are going to be looking at a pretty strong full buy regardless. Crims, interestingly, picking up the creep. Going to take some more of those ranged engagements, but still that double holds firm. Still good utility for the CT side. Bro is going to try and make his way out fast. Got Olaf control, knife out straight through the flashbangs, but Rush is there, backing up Blame F, who was behind the smoke to get the early pick. And again, Fnatic looked like they had an early plan, send the man into Olaf, try and get that map control away, but Complexity have countered it perfectly.
Yeah, I think last time they get caught off by it, but this time not so much. That is a narrow miss from Yugi. Really didn't give himself a lot of room to miss, to be honest. So, somewhat strange to me that he does. But all the same, he has. Gods of Counter-Strike looking down on Fnatic for just a second there. See whether they're able to use this and pull the round back from this 5-on-4. Crimson Config playing in and around each other. Oh my goodness. One slightly too wide peek from Config and he is a goner. Rush going to take down Golden. Crim's trying. He's in such a good spot, but no one is giving him anything to work with. Another kill comes in from Rush, and sure, he finally goes down after 3 frags in this round, but perhaps too little too late. They're all set up and ready for Crims to come in. He's on this creep, trying to take names, trying to take heads. He needs some assistance here, and he's completely outpositioned Yugi. Oh, Crims! Crims, turn around, one of you! Someone, surely here's the scope. That gives it away. We'll take him down, but Blame F had gotten into position for the trade. He wasn't fast enough on it. It could have had such a dire effect, but I don't think, in the end, Crims will be the playmaker. It has to be JW.
Thrown into the big clutch, manages to find the initial pick. JKS goes down, and now the 1v1 ensues. Blame F has a little bit of utility. He's not really sure where this AWP is. JW falling back, making noise like he's gone for the long rotation. He'll hold towards connector. Starts to swing his peak wide. Blame, that Molotov could be critical. It's catching JW. He'll hear that. He's got the sound cues. JW into the Molotov again as Blame. He's got to time this. The Molly's gone and he's trying to take the fight, but it's JW, the huge 1v2, despite the antics on that A-bomb site, to give Fnatic their fifth. The AWP, as we said in the pre-game, shining once again.
Yeah, that's so well played. Walking into the molly when you hear him tap the bomb is genius, because it makes it seem like, of course, you're going to fully commit, and the immediate reaction, as is often the case in a one-on-one clutch, you know, you trust your instincts. Blame F's instincts will be saying, he's coming at me, I've got to get off this. Another timeout for the T side. 5 rounds, pretty respectable so far on your T side for sure. But there is room, both objectively and, of course, just in the way that they've been playing at the moment, for more. So I'm interested to see how Complexity approach this one, because I think they will be kind of frustrated with that previous round. Crims allowed to do a little bit too much in and around that A-bomb site. I thought that they were set up for him, right? They'd seen him, they'd spotted him, Rush finds his big 3k, and then it's like, okay, we know where Crims is at, I'm in heaven, I'm on the bomb train, we can get him together. We lose the guy Heaven, the bottom train player in the form of Yugi, remember, that standing, maybe not quite on the same wavelength, was not ready to trade. And it ends up being the difference that he goes down to Crims as well. So we'll see whether they can recover things back. Rush getting aggressive. 21st frag of the half either way. Misses that shot. Oh, and Jacquinho going to open up onto both. Such a shame. Blame F, he gets the dink, but does not find the frag. A 4-on-3 ensues, and Fnatic once again have control.
Health in favor of Complexity, however, and Config just feeling it. Goes wide on the swing, manages to take out the dinked Jacquinho, bringing things back to level pegging. But Brolin's actually opened things up straight out of A main. He's managed to find a pick onto Config, and now the CT side really left scrambling. Yugi and JKS, they're trying to work out what on earth is going on, but with just 2 players left, so little information to work with. You can see JKS trying to peek down into the B-bomb site, then playing around connector, trying to give himself any kind of info onto what on earth is going on, because Brolin is playing this slowly, cautiously, and so intelligently. He's giving absolutely nothing up as he tries to feel out where these remaining players in. Nades go out. Yugi should be able to spot those, maybe get some kind of info as he hears the footsteps potentially sneaking their way up Ivy. Now the smoke locks him out of this, and that A-bomb site is going to be ripe for the taking. Fnatic, they don't know it yet, but there's no CT presence here as Yugi is going to desperately rotate. Old Bomb won't be good enough. Bomb going to go down. And the 3v2 retake, yes, they've got the util. Yugi manages to spot a man out, but it feels like they need a very early pick to make this viable.
Yeah, I think the move to safe has to come in, but Yugi feels he's in the lion's den and he can't leave just yet. Timing going to be absolutely everything. Golden is just around the corner, and the freest frag of the game so far goes to the in-game leader for Fnatic. JKS, meanwhile, will look to back away. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. Fnatic, I think, doing a solid job, even despite losing Jacquinho, but he has a nice double entry to respond to Russia's aggression. And it's a solid play, honestly. Like, you know, they're really looking good here as a unit. It's taken them a bit of time to get the wind in their sails, but once they have, starting to themselves win those harder rounds where they pull things back, where things go even in the beginning and whatnot. They're dictating a lot of the pace, and I think Complexity not keeping up with this shift in pace, so to speak, right? We've seen 2 timeouts from Fnatic, and both times there's been big changes that Complexity just not quite able to respond to.
Yeah, considering Complexity at one point was 7-2 up, Fnatic have done a fantastic job of, as you said, just bringing themselves back into this, upping the pace ever so slightly. having some real success off the back of it. Last round of the half not looking pretty at all for Complexity. Couple of Deagles to FAMAS, BlameF picking up the used a lot more frequently than I expected nowadays, AUG. So he's got that to try and replicate the AWP holding in towards a main Fnatic. Just fanning out initially. JW's taken a good lick of damage, but on the AWP won't be too concerned. And they're just waiting out any opening aggression from the CT side here, making sure that nothing's going to catch them off guard before they plan into what can be a full execute. There's no financial concerns in this last round of the half. They can throw the kitchen sink at it, as it were. So no need to spare on the nades whatsoever. And full exec as they do look to loop around over towards this B-bomb site and once again try and pile that pressure onto JKS, who this time has only got a FAMAS pop flash out for Jaquinho. JW holds for the push connector, and it's going to be JKS, top of the grey train. Nothing he can do as Jaquinho takes him out. And of course, Complexity, they've got to give this retake a go. Last round of the half, there's no point in saving, but it's not going to be an easy one at all.
Massive chunks taken out of Fnatic early on. It's such a shame that JKS is by himself, can't get a lot done. Well, can't get anything done. But we'll see. Still a chance here. These Deagles, oh my goodness, could eat through these Fnatic players for sure. JW does well to find config. Yugi down oil, trying to find some trades, but not before he loses all of his teammates. Certainly could find some frags here, but no, not going to be the case. Jaquinho from behind drops him, and that'll be an 8-7 half. Pretty damn good stuff from Fnatic, not only...
I think by all measures, a bit of a disappointing start. It looked a little awkward at times. It didn't quite click, but they came back into it strongly. And at 8-7, it really is anybody's game.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and it's kind of surprising to me. I think, like I mentioned there towards the end, it takes a little bit too long for Fnatic's wind in their sails. If they'd have started that half the way that they finished it, really could have been solid for them, but obviously not the case. Stellar half from Rush, meanwhile, worth noting that it is just kind of the one individual, a little bit of help from BlameF in places, and Yugi, who felt more like the secondary AWP than the primary AWP. But all the same, Rush having a really good showing to kind of pull Complexity through a lot of those early rounds. However, once they were able to deal with it,
Nades out. You saw glimpses of it in the opening few rounds. You saw Golden swinging out of drop, trying to catch a man in transition, but it was Rush again who bailed config out of that situation. When that wasn't there, the system very quickly fell apart. So a nice and even half of our first map of Summit 007. And, well, what a map to start things off. It's been solid across the board, and for Fnatic, I think there's still some questions to be asked, but it definitely felt like they just started slow and then built into it as the half went on.
yeah, I think so. To me, it kind of feels like maybe not as prepared for this Complexity team as they would like. That kind of makes sense, right? There's a few unknown elements, both in terms of how the team's going to function as a 5, and then the fact that I think Fnatic are maybe like, they left train open, you know. So certainly a bit of adaptation, on the fly adaptation to be done from Fnatic, but they do it very well. I'm very impressed, and I'm looking forward to this CT half from them. Jaquinho, a nice couple of rounds in places, right? Not the most explosive opening game from him, but certainly not a super weak showing either. He's ahead of his in-game leader. That's kind of what you'd expect, particularly from a team like Fnatic and the way that Golden leads. So looking good in that sense. And now maybe that we're on the CT side, we'll get to see that double up setup that we're really hoping to see. And maybe there he can impress a bit more.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he gets his chance on that secondary AWP. But I think he was solid where he was asked to be, right? Fnatic, they started slow. He had a few opportunities. He hit his shots. There was the odd one that looked awkward, but he does well pretty much across the board. When he's asked to trade, he does so efficiently. And from there, well, he builds himself a solid little repertoire to start things off. But now heading onto that CT side, I think this is where we need to see him playing to his own strengths. I think seeing him on that secondary AWP would be fantastic, but more than that, he can't be isolated by complexity. He can't allow himself to be the weakness in the armor of this CT side. This Fnatic, interestingly enough, going to look to get aggressive early on. Rush pinned back and dealt with by Crims. The two-man peak working out absolutely perfectly. Config has a P250 explicitly to deal with this, but he can't quite connect. Golden, the second man, will swing. Config will go down, and oh no, Brolin, this could be everything. The bomb has been left in spawn. He spots Blame F grabbing it. He finds a couple of tags. If he deals with Blame, this is all over. He's found the frag, and that is the bomb at his feet. The CT side will start to scramble for it. He'll even use the utility of Blame against him to smoke Yugi off of this angle. And for complexity, it has absolutely fallen apart.
That's kind of rough to watch, isn't it? That is so hard for them to deal with, I'm sure, in a mental capacity. Config not having a great game. They put him on the raid boss. Can't get anything done. They read it strategically. Perfect. But in terms of the execution, just not there. Yugi, the only one left now. He's managed to find one, but that is all. You know, walks into the crossfire. Not going to happen for him. And Fnatic come away with a very clean pistol. Like I say, despite it being red. Completely, to be honest. You know, you may be expecting Roland to come in from behind and give them the leg up in that situation, right? The 1-for-1 trade, perhaps. You take down the Glock, then the P250 raid boss wide swings and finds that player, and then maybe needs some help from Brolin in the backside on that Fnatic end. But not the case. Not the case. Just the full frontal attack was super successful, and Complexity, I think, going to be kicking themselves so they don't put up a better fight.
They certainly put themselves in the right situation to succeed, but just couldn't find the execution on the back of it. Now, with just the Deagles, a few sets of armor, Yugi, of course, not investing so heavily, looking to pull out the AWP as soon as physically possible. And for Complexity, these are the kind of rounds where a bomb plant just becomes the main goal, right? If you can get that pick onto the B player, if you can take Golden out of the equation, maybe even take out the rotating Brolin, that's fantastic. But the main goal is just to get those numbers punched in. Extra $800 in the bank, start to build into your half, give yourselves as many opportunities to buy as you possibly can, as Golden is going to be tested early on, falls down the ladder, makes it a little awkward, dink through the smoke, but luckily through the wall as well. JKS will just start to spam on through. They're baiting for the lower push, and Yuki at least managing to trade 1-for-1 as Brolin, under pressure from multiple angles, can only get himself the single. And for a split second, it looks viable, but Config thrust into the 1v3. Deagle in hand, we've seen him pull off more insane plays. There's a couple of tags to work with as well, but he needs an early pick, goes for the AUG, and that will be his undoing. Crims reads the situation beautifully, and Fnatic, they do manage to just about get their 9th on the board. I think that's a little more expensive than they would have liked.
I'm telling you now, Config is fuming, surely. Oh, man. Rough game for him individually, but the timing on that one to go for the AUG, and that's when Crims decides to swing out. When he was confident, right? His teammates were in position to trade him anyway, I feel, but all the same, not able to take a single player. Config, I don't think is comfortable with this map. I think it is safe to say the usual monster that he is somewhat dormant. Nice big nade onto Blame F. Should be an easy one here. Golden playing it safe. Big nade from him. Nice little Molotov. Going for the spray. Can he get all the eco frags? He gets 3 so far. Left on 4 HP. Oh, and JKS with the spam is able to take him down. Blame F, meanwhile, on the other side of things, also found a Deagle headshot. So any damage is good damage, right? Say it with me. A decent enough round so far. If they can get any more, they can get a bomb plant. I'm sure that they would be very happy with this.
Problem's going to be the amount of damage it's taken them to get here. There's potentially some rifles to be recovered up in these brown holes, and Fnatic not too keen to overextend and make sure they don't get found. So possibility, but it's actually just going to be the dry run down the ramp. Blame F trading 1-for-1. That's a bomb plant. That's the 3rd frag as well if he wants it. There we go. I was a little worried for a second there, but he's going to punch the bomb in, and a 2v1 by no means a done deal. Potentially room for some aggression here as he starts to push up the right-hand side of this bomb train. Going to need a clean connection onto Crims for the first. It just can't quite land it. Crims will get the better of him on low HP and find those double digits for Fnatic. Again, any damage is good damage, right? 3 frags, a bomb plant coming out for Complexity. It's by no means a done deal. They do a fantastic job of keeping that CT side honest. But I think if I'm them, if I'm Blame, I want a little bit more from that.
Yeah, I think there was potential for it, but not actualized, and he'll be a little frustrated. I think every lost round right now for Complexity after their super strong 7-2 start just keeps hammering those nails into the coffin of Train at the very least. It does not feel good. First rifle round, though, on this T side for Complexity. Let's see what they've got. I mentioned this. Strong CT sides are certainly possible when you've got individuals popping off like Rush. But it's your T side that really, really decides the strength of your Train, I think. At the very least, having the foundation of one. Yugi, of course, on the backside, manages to find himself an opening frag over towards Ivy. So, a decent start for Complexity. No damage received, hardly any utility utilized to allow that to happen. So, it's a nice, clean, easy frag. See what they decide to do with it.
They've split the CT defense, at least for now. Golden calls in the rotation, and it will be Crims on that recovered AWP to join him. We've seen Complexity try this B-bomb site a few times with the Deagles. They've had good success with the bait and switch, but with Crims to back Golden up, that's going to be a lot more complicated. Nice pick early from the AWPer. Golden going to be put under pressure, down on just 2 HP, however, and he's got to drop into this lower bomb site. Does fantastically well to get 1 before he's traded down, and 3 on 3, the bomber's got to transition, and with Brolin in the backstab, it's all on config. 1v2, bomb dropped on the site. And he's got no information as to Jaquinho's position. The slow rotation will start to come in. Brolin will look to reposition in towards upper as Config just going to try and tap that bomb, trying to make any kind of a peek out. Spots the man upper, but can't quite connect the flick. Just not quite there. And Fnatic, again, managed to reel another one in. Despite being a man down early on, the recovery is beautiful. I mean, Golden does a fantastic job on such low HP to get a kill from Spools. And from there, it's just buying time. Crims catches a man in transition. That buys enough time to Brolin to backstab for 1. And then at that point, Config 1v2. Little unfortunate that he's looking at the wrong angle at the wrong time. But hey, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
It is indeed. Brolin, though, with the perfect timing. Like you say, where the bloody hell has he come from, I think, is perhaps the comms that's going down. Playing it perfectly, that, you know, the fact that, like, there's so much noise, the sensory overload going down on that B-bomb site, I think, is how he's able to get in. And then very smart of him to reposition and just remove the information away from config that he thought he had. So, thoroughly impressed. Great game sense to go for those moves from Brolan. And Fnatic looking solid here on Train. Certainly a bit more of what we expected on a hell of a tear right now. Winning so many rounds out of the past 15 or so. Brolan once again opening up. But yeah, taking a look at it, what we'd have of the past 10, they've won 9. So really looking good for Fnatic right now. And I think Complexity are very, very worried. They've just taken a timeout and they've already lost a player. So yeah, dire straits right now for this T side.
We haven't even seen the double AWP yet. They've been happy to stick around on the rifles. It is not a pretty picture. Nice pop flash. JW going to be forced off his angle, but still connects the first. Is at least traded. And 3 on 3. Jaquinho, that timing is huge. Yugi just caught looking completely the wrong way. And again, Complexity, limited health to work with, limited utility to try and find this round. A bomb plant at the very least would be great, and it will be given away to Rush. Fnatic not looking to contest too strongly. Pop flash out and very nearly catches the timing. JKS will deal with Golden, so 2 on 2. Let's see what the youngsters got. Jaquinho going to be pop flashed off his initial peak. That allows the low HP Rush to start his rotation, get aggressive on oil, try and take the fight to the CT side. But Crims, he has looked stellar on this CT half, and Jaquinho will take advantage of the health. Fnatic will have their 12th, and as you said, Complexity just not really starting on their T side at the moment. Fnatic are making it look all too easy on these retakes.
I think that's honestly what's making the biggest difference, actually, is indeed the retakes. Complexity have not done a terrible job of getting the bombs down. In their stronger rifle buys, they've actually managed to do that, right? Round 3 and round 5 of the second half, they get the bomb plants in, and they come close in some of the others, right? So certainly doesn't seem to be the issue, breaking into the bomb sites and whatnot. I think Fnatic are just there with the stronger retakes, always having a bit of a man advantage, or still with some solid utility to soften them up going into said retake. And Complexity never really getting control of these rounds. It doesn't feel like they're in a you know, 70-30 winnable situation in any of these rounds. So we'll see whether that changes, obviously, with the bomb plant and whatnot. Super strong buy, all things considered. No AWP, but I honestly am a bigger fan of this, right? Fake out towards A and just bursting in towards B. Golden, got to be careful. Config, ooh, sprinting forwards with the bomb, covered by Rush. Thank God they find those kills, because that bomb down at Sidewalk would have been absolutely terrible. He will fall. Oh, Brolin finding Rush as well. Jacquinho pushing forwards. Once again, it's all fallen apart out of nowhere. A 3-on-2 recovered back for the CT side. A key frag for JKS to find, but it's still a very doable situation for Fnatic.
They need this pick for BlameF. They need to try and isolate Brolin. That bomb down in the middle of sight is going to cause so many issues moving forward. Still 40 seconds left on the clock as Blame will start to try and clear these corners. Spots out Brolin but can't find the shot. And it's all on to JKS. He doesn't know where either of these players really are. He spots out and deals with Jacquinho. Good damage, however, and Brolin does have a HE to try and deal with this. Tapping away. He will be brought down, but the HE will dunk. The connection will come through. And Fnatic, once again, it is those retakes, and it's getting mighty close every single time. But they're just never quite holding on Complexity. It feels like at the last possible moment, these rounds are falling apart at the seams, right? They're constructing them well, they're getting themselves into the afterplants, and then they just can't quite hold on to the site for the retake.
It's kind of crazy to watch, right? When it rains, it pours, to be honest. They're 5-on-3, looking good. Some nice openers. Okay, Config's lost the bomb on the cross. That's fine. It's not gone anywhere crazy. We're still here. But then it's like you've got another player going for a wide spring to try and trade. He dies. Then someone else tries to trade that. He dies. It, like, out of nowhere, just seems to fall apart. And I think they're still, once again, because of these newer additions, one of which we're not really sure how permanent he is, I think there's still a breakdown in kind of the roles and the communication and who is the player that should be going for that trade attempt. Rush is not a bad option. He did indeed try it last round, but he ends up falling. And then I think after that, you have to, okay, tighten up. Let's make sure we don't let anything else slip and keep control of this bomb site. But there's no kind of unspoken coordination around that to do that. BlameF, though, rushing forwards here, trying to find a sneaky backstab, and he might just get it. They've already lost JKS. But BlameF could make all the difference. I don't think they realize that he's out here under ladder. Certainly not looking too good, but I don't know. The longer he waits, the more likely he is to be spotted.
If he has an AK here, I back him to win this round single-handedly, but just the MAC-10 to work with for now. Rush does manage to get the pick. Brolin goes down, and potentially from that, yeah, BlameF can recover the AUG, so a lot more firepower to work with now. Interestingly, not looking to transition the bomb just yet, Complexity. Looking to sit back on it, seeing if they can get another pick from somewhere, but that's given Crim's time to drop. He's actually isolated the bomb towards E-Box as well. Again, Complexity, it just goes from bad to worse. A tag onto JW does nothing as he picks off Rush. Blame finally finds the trade from that AUG, but that gives his position away, and they've still got to recover the bomb. 30 seconds left on the clock and just one flashbang to do so. All Crims has to do is stay alive, and this is a done deal. He finds a tag onto Yugi, swings wide and deals with the Deagle, and now Blame 1v3, AUG in hand, might want to try and hold on to this gun if he can, but he's going to be pincered from all sides. He's trying to get anything he can done, but once again, such a promising start for Complexity. He even runs out of ammo as he's trying to deal with Crims. At the very least, it does look like he'll be allowed to save the AUG. But for Complexity, there was so much more on the table there, right? BlameF in a fantastic position. Rush gets himself the early pick. From there, you're thinking bomb plant, pile that pressure on, but instead, just slowly but surely they're picked apart.
It works almost perfectly as well, right? I think the idea was, oh, there's a player in heaven, don't worry, Blame F will get him, he'll sneak in, but Rush actually gets the frag. So it's like, okay, well, Blame doesn't have to give his position away for a little while longer. But the extremities, the players coming in from other angles, were able to take down the weaker complexity members, and I think they were tunneling quite heavily on Blame's position and perhaps joining him, trying to help him out. And it ends up costing them. So, really not looking good. They might just tap out in this second half a little prematurely with only, what, the one round? Not even. Yeah, it's been a flawless half so far from Fnatic, and things are not looking any better for Complexity. The buy, not ideal, weak weaponry. They're going to give it their best shot. Jacquinho here on the AWP. We get to see him land his first shot with it. Beautifully done as well onto Rush to take him down, able to drop back. And that's the perfect opener for Fnatic.
Took them a while to bring it out, but we do finally get to see that double AWP setup we were so excited about. I'll tell you what, we didn't even need it to get into this situation. It's been a fantastic half, a bit of a show match for Fnatic, really. Clearly done a lot of work on their train and got it into a good position. Now spamming through. Yugi takes a little lick of damage. That'll give away a little more information to this CT side as the Ivy push looks to come through. It's all a distraction, and Yugi making it a little bit more with that pick on to JW. Roland does have them in the pincer, but as he's traded 1-for-1, that bomb is actually going to loop all the way back and right into the drop. This CT side, it looked like a free plant over towards B. Instead, they'll loop back around. It will be that A bomb site. Jacquinho will take out JKS, though. And again, it's falling apart. Brolin with the pick onto Blame F, and Config in the impossible situation. Prim's even going to bring the 1D out just to finish the job. 15-8. And again, you're looking at the situation, you're thinking this looks perfect. They're dragging the CT rotations through. They've got the bomb going out upper onto that B bomb site. And then they reroute right into the mouth of the beast and give Fnatic the chance to take those straight 1v1s.
I think they just kind of, every time, celebrate a bit too early, maybe. And you know, they're in the lead. There's one hurdle left, and they just faceplant once they try and get over that final hurdle. So it really does seem to be the case, unfortunately, for them. And now 7 perfect rounds in a row required, to be fair. And that is a tall ask for any caliber of team right now on any map, no matter how comfortable. Blame F, unfortunately, does not spot JW. Rush will find the trade back. Who else? But he's quickly dealt with. Brolin as well. In with the double, continuing to push forwards. And he's absolutely unstoppable. Config on 14 HP. Surely not going to happen. Might drop 1 or 2, but beyond that, I do not see the 1-on-4 happening for him. Galil, no